Hello, everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. I am your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey comics from January of 1986. So, Happy New Year, everyone.
That's right. We got through another one, and as usual, also joined by Bex Luthor.
Yo, what up? It's me. Yo, boy.
Okay, so unfortunately, G.I. Jolie could not be with us this week, but she'll be back next week, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
she
this
died.
week.
No,
why would you just say that?
Because that's what I joked about last. I was like, I'm gonna be dead.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Jesus, you guys.
Oh,
there's bits. We have to keep up the bits.
That's
every
true.
week.
That's true. I'm sorry.
Is slow. All right. Okay, so this week, first we're gonna start off with Web of Spider-Man. And I believe, Josh, you are going to tell us what this one is all about, right?
Right. Okay, so we see the cover of this week of issue number 10 of Web of Spider-Man. We see Spider-Man in his fabric black symbiote costume on the cover with Dominic Fortune, or at least a young Dominic Fortune.
And just for the record, Dominic Fortune, as I called him when I was a kid.
Fortune,
but anyway.
Right.
Incorrect. Anyway.
So we start off with a little bit of a flashback with Dominic and his then romantic partner / crime fighting partner, Sabbath Raven. And the two of them are spies working during World War II to stop a Nazi plan in France, I believe it was. So we kind of see that they're like a crime fighting duo working for the government, and it ends on this newspaper with the two of them saving the day. I guess that kind of blows their secret CIA undercover whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyways, then we cut to him in present day as he's being chased down an alley as an older man, and he starts beating up the bad guys, trying to protect himself. And at the nick of time, as somebody raises a gun to shoot him, Spider-Man swings in to save him, and he's kind of in rough shape after being beat up. So Spider-Man swings him to the hospital. We cut over to Steel Enterprises, where we find out that Steel is actually Baron Wolfgang von Lund, who was the bad guy at the beginning that Fortune had stopped during World War II. And I love this little moment where he's all menacing in his giant evil armchair at his desk, and he's trying to do a Rubik's Cube, and then by the end of it he just takes it apart and puts it all back together rather than shuffling it around. And then we cut back to Dominic in the hospital with his son. His son is kind of lecturing him, saying he's too old to be going out fighting crime, and that he should, go to a retirement home. And in walks Peter Parker to do a story on him after he, kind of fought those goons in the alleyway. Fortune tells the tale of him looking for Sabbath and him putting on the costume again and fighting along Spider-Man, and how it's kind of given him life again. We cut to Steel's goons, and they're trying to take out Fortune because he is in on what's going on with Steel Enterprises. So they're trying to hire a hitman, and they go to Shocker. And Shocker is all bent out of shape that they don't, after making the deal, they don't stay for a drink. Yep. So he's we get the sense that he's going to double cross them after taking out Dominic and Spider-Man. So kind of a little hint for later on. It ends up with Dominic going to a an airport to leave to go back to France or to Europe to kind of explore and figure out where his long lost lover has gone. And Peter helps him by bringing him to the Daily Bugle to search the database there, and then afterwards he finds out that there hasn't been a story in years, so he's going to go to Europe to figure out what happened for himself. And that's when Shocker shows up and this final confrontation happens. Spidey swings in and has a fight with Shocker. Steel's goons also show up, since Shocker is kind of flaking on the fact that he's not really going after Dominic anymore. He's just after Spider-Man. And I mean, they work together to fight at the end of the day. There's, they steal one of like the luggage carts, and it's like this big thing. I mean, like,
I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah, nothing too exciting really happens. Shocker is webbed up by the end, and Steel blows up Dominic's building. And we get like this reveal that Sabbath has been working or has been like married to Steel the entire time. And we're going to get to figure out what happened to that in another story later on.
The end.
That's it. Yeah, that's the end.
Again, I had hesitations going in with Danny Fingeroth as writer, but I didn't think this was too bad. I mean, I think the Jim Mooney's art makes it feel very retro, and I think the script fits that, and so it kind of just feels like a classic issue of Spidey. Bex Luthor, what did you think?
No, yeah, I had a great time. I was reading this one and I was like, oh, is Webb figuring out what it wants to be? Finally? Mm-hmm. Is it like, oh, you know what, we should just do some classic Spidey stuff. Yeah, no, I like Dominic Fortune. I think the trope of like the aged like super spy like works really well. Like he has a family now and his son doesn't want him to continue doing this, but he can't stop kind of thing. That's really nice. It's interesting because they're like, oh, what's his relationship with the bad guy? And then Shocker shows up, so then you have like more of the modern Spidey bad guys in with like this old wartime stuff. Just wish we didn't have to have a both Notebook and Uncle Ben shout out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear ya.
He was like, oh, what am I going to do with this notebook? I wish Uncle Ben wasn't dead to help me figure out what to do with this notebook. Peter, you got a hat problem too, Peter? Like, Jesus.
Yes. There were a lot of weird moments in all of these issues that really stood out to be like, okay, we get it. You're calling back to other things. Mm-hmm. Like, figure out what's going on in this story first. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. It was pretty lighthearted, even though it was like a mafia story. Dominic Fortune being like this old guy that still wants to be in the superhero game, and his son is kind of like against it. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good story. Them going to Shocker and asking for you're hiring him to go after Spidey and Dominic, and even like the bad guys having the forethought of like, we want to kill Dominic, but we have a feeling that Spider-Man is also going to swing in and try to save the day. So let's go to one of Spidey's villains and hire one of them. So that way, if Spidey shows up, it's not really going to be a problem and we're still going to get our money's worth. Like everything pretty much fit together nicely. I didn't have a whole lot of problems. The end fight is like ridiculous, and kind of goofy and drawn out, but it's
like leaping around on that, whatever that's called, that Jeep thing.
Yeah, and then like Spider-Man ripping off Shocker's gauntlets, which is what his powers come from, and Shocker going, ha ha ha, you fool, I only put those there to trick idiots like you, because now I put my powers in my actual suit. And Spidey's like, okay, dude, and just rips his suit off.
Well, it's also like it's like the beats are not there because like he goes, you've taken my wrist units, I'm helpless. And then the next page, I'm a man who learns from his past mistakes, Spider-Man. And then he says his bit, but it's not like there's a moment where he does that. It's kind of just like it's almost like the art doesn't match the dialogue quite. You know what I mean? So yeah, that didn't quite work. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a pretty goofy reveal, but it felt that like old style of comic. I think
again, like this is something Josh and I used to talk about in the early days, where sometimes it just feels like the art and the writing and everything. It's like it clicks. It's like it knows exactly what it is. It knows that it's goofy. It knows that it's cartoony. It knows it's retro, and so you don't question it. Whereas if the art was trying to be more realistic, right? It's almost like it would call attention to itself, and you would notice weird gaps like that or plot holes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, because then when it's even in the fight scene, you have a lot of that very, very cartoony, like the shablam. Love a good shablam. Like you don't question it, and I think it's a good balance of if cheesy but like in a charming way.
Right.
At least reading it now, it probably wasn't cheesy in the 80s. It was probably just cool Spider-Man, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously, if it's the first time I'm reading these, it's all in retrospect. But yeah, it's charming. It's not a chore to read.
But I think if you compare it to Peter Parker and what's been going on there, that is like very dark and serious, and it has some weight to it. At least it tries to have some weight to it most of the time, Peter Parker. Where this, it's like it knows that it's more of a lighthearted story. It's not trying to take itself too seriously.
Yeah, and also this is January 86, so this is just when Watchmen this is right now in the middle of Watchmen, in the middle of Dark Knight by Frank Miller. So superhero comics are just starting to transition. So this is borderline retro, and Peter Parker is a little bit ahead of the curve. And within 5 years, something like this by Jim Mooney, with Jim Mooney art, would not even be considered, right? It would all be Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Jim Lee in that style. So, yeah, this is like the tail end of this style of art. Bronze Age, you could say. But yeah, again, it's like done in one. And there's a little hint of, what's going to happen next with Sabbath. And by the way, I think that story is picked up, but not here. It's picked up in Iron Man. So now we got to read Iron Man. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I can just Google
honestly, I wish that they... I wish that they didn't reveal that it was Sabbath. I mean, we all knew it was Sabbath.
Yeah, just show the silhouette or the shadow. And then be like, who could it be, even though we know it is? Of course, right? That'd be better. You're right.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Go ahead.
I was going to say, even though like the second I looked at the panel and the second I saw the silhouette, I'm like, oh, so he has Sabbath, like, under mind control or something. And then I read the dialogue and I was like, oh, they just went out and said it, huh?
Right.
Like,
and then even really... You notice Peter Parker at the last panel looking at the camera. That's a pure 60s Superman. Yeah, like wink at the camera type thing. Like, again, Jim Mooney. If you like Jim Mooney, read Supergirl from the 60s, because that's what he did. And I just love this art. It's so good.
Yeah.
So
this one was super fun.
Yeah. And by the way, I got to mention. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that one might have been my favorite of this month. I really enjoyed it.
I think it's the most well-rounded. And we got to quickly point out, again, we said script by Danny Fingeroth, art by Jim Mooney, but the cover is by Howard Chaykin, who I call the Don Rickles of comic books. We've interviewed him before, and he is super quick-witted, super intelligent, super controversial, whatever. This is his creation. Unfortunately, he didn't have anything to do with the issue, but at least he did the cover. This cover is great.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I have this one physically, and it's dope.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I read all these physically, so Web of
I read them
Spider-Man.
digitally so that I could leave the physical copies in the box and not touch them, because that's why you buy books, right?
Yeah. Slab them and sell them. You got it.
Not sell. Put them in a box.
Okay.
And then keep it in your house
there you
forever.
Go. Okay, so I recommend this issue. Bex Luthor, do you recommend this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always down for a man in a leotard, so I love Dominic Fortune's outfit. I think it's a rad choice for a dude. Like the one, like, it's like a girl's leotard, like a superhero, a female superhero's costume. I love it. 10 out of 10 leotards for me.
All right.
Yeah, it's
More
got the
Dominic Fortune coming.
swashbuckling boots that match too. Like it's a pretty cool costume.
It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I agree. So yeah, there you go. Web of Spider-Man. Check number 10. Highly recommended by all of us. We all enjoyed it. Now we're gonna move on to Amazing Spider-Man 272 and Bex Luthor. I believe you're gonna tell us what this one's all about.
I am in just a second.
Sure.
Sorry.
No problem.
I read it and then I scroll down all the way and then it goes to the bottom, so I have to reread it.
Well,
No problem.
Yeah.
This
I was like,
this
what
cover,
was this issue about? And then I looked and I was like, oh right, slide.
This cover
Slide.
is so weird
Yes.
for issue 272 of Amazing Spider-Man.
It is a panel cover.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
story.
weird.
Yeah, it's very rare. You're right. Josh, you want to explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so the cover itself is actually divided into two different panels. We have Spider-Man chasing after this new villain, Slide. In the first panel, we have him like swinging through the streets and Slide is running away. And in the second panel, Spider-Man is like upside down, tripped over a trash can, and we see in the distance that Slide has been skating away. And it's strange. It's strange. You don't really see this too often where it's divided up the cover. And on top of that, I don't know if it was just because it is divided, but it almost looks like the top panel was originally a full page and then it was squashed. Like, doesn't Spider-Man look like he was like squished from like the top down a little bit?
I think it's an optical illusion with the paneling. I think the paneling is making you think that because like I'm looking at Slide and he looks squat, but then if you like hide the bottom half, it doesn't look as weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, you don't see a lot of the panel covers in these older comics. It's really like anything that I read that's coming out now. There's always like 6 or 7 variants of a cover of that's just panels, right?
Yeah, every issue.
Yeah, cover issue number 2, cover F or whatever, because we live in the dawn of variants.
Yeah. So anyway, so go ahead, Becca. Now do you have it loaded yet?
Yes, we're good.
Cool. So yeah, go ahead and tell us what this issue is all about.
So the issue starts off with a new villain, Slide, robbing a bank, and he has one of the most interesting like outfits that I've seen in a long time, especially in like some of this older stuff where he's bright white and green. So yeah, he goes to rob a bank and he's very like slippery. They can't get a hold of him. He's sliding around too fast, and he eventually gets away. And I think he's like, I'm glad like I didn't have to hurt anybody. And everyone's like, and you're like, what? What do you mean you didn't have to hurt anybody? You're a bad guy. And then it pans over to Spider-Man, who's looking for information. As Spider-Man does, he goes to a bar and starts beating people up. Apparently. And then he gets kicked out of the bar. And then he's sad about Uncle Ben for a bit. And we get a lot of Spider-Man angst in this one. He's like so upset that he punches like a brick wall or something on a roof. And the guy's like, wow, what a menace. Like, you're breaking our whatever. And so of course then he hears sirens, gotta jump into Spider-Man action, and Slide is being chased by the police and he's like going really fast down the road. He does a quick U-turn and the cop car crashes, and then Spider-Man's on the scene and goes after him. Slide is too slippery for Spider-Man's webbing to take hold, and Slide gets away, and Spider-Man ends up in a truck full of fruit. And then another person is like, you're a menace, I'm gonna sue you. And he's like, yep, join the club. Got a quick Beyonder reference, don't forget, Secret Wars 2.
Yeah, that was...
Hey everybody,
also,
Secret Wars.
Also, is the fruit stand, the fruit truck guy, it's the same guy in the building.
Is it really?
He's got the same like long screaming face, orange cap.
Man, poor Joe. He just has a rough day. Spider-Man's just screwing him over.
The orange jacket and the orange cap. It looks like the same guy.
You know what? Maybe it is the same guy. I'm going to make that my canon. Same guy. Joe is getting screwed over by Spider-Man. That's the issue. But yeah, so we go back. So Slide gets away, and then he's in his apartment, and he takes his hat off, and it turns out he's an incredibly handsome man. And then you get like a little bit of his backstory. Turns out he was a scientist for a company, created the most amazing non-stick pan you've ever seen in your entire life. And then his boss is like, you're fired. Because he gets a new boss, takes over the company, decides that I don't need non-stick pans, you're fired. So he decides to take his revenge by coating an ice dancing suit with his non-stick pan liquid and become the villain known as Slide. So he robs a bank. That'll teach him. I don't know. The motivation's a little weak here. But then we move on, and Peter Parker's going to visit Aunt May and Nathan, who's still in the hospital from when he got jumped by those guys in the alleyway, and Peter didn't stop him because he was busy stopping a murder. So it's his fault Nathan got beat up, even though Nathan... whatever. And then, so Peter's like, oh, what will happen? And Nathan doesn't want to talk about it, obviously, like... So whatever, we go back to the company that Slide originally worked for, and it turns out that they're doing a lot of shady dealings. Shady business, no. Slide breaks in, steals some important documents, breaks out, is like, I could sell these documents back to him for lots of money, or I could send them to the cops, or I could make lots of money. So he decides to make lots of money. And then he calls his ex-boss, they meet up to, like, do a trade, money for these, like, important information back. Spider-Man shows up. Slide gets the information. Turns out Slide was working with the DA the whole time. A big twist-a-rooney there. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I totally was with the authorities. And at the very last second, Slide decides, nah, and takes the money and runs off with it. And gets away. And then we go to somewhere completely different. And it looks like I don't know who these people are. I was gonna say something. I was like, I don't want to assume. But a gentleman leaves his home tribe area and goes to the big city where I'm guessing his son is working. And he's like, it's time. We need you. You're gonna need Spider-Man. And then it ends.
Yeah, so this is a setup for the Puma, but it's clearly a different inker. It's Joe Rubinstein. I'm assuming not Kyle Baker. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know if Becca, if you've seen the Puma before, but we've reviewed him on our show. I don't know if you were on those episodes, but
he's like kind of a cat man, but more man than cat.
Exactly, right. So this is a setup for the next Puma story. So yeah, nothing to do with the rest of it, but cool anyway. But anyway, yeah. So I
wouldn't say cool.
Okay. So that's pretty much the issue then. I just want to quickly point out that Slide does come back.
Oh, thank God.
I'm looking up right now. He's got how many appearances here? He's got at least.
Okay, is he in this? Is he in the runner game though?
Yeah,
24. He's got 24 appearances, so he's been around for a while.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, be sure to check that out. So yeah, first let's talk about Slide. I actually think he's a pretty cool villain. I mean, he's got a unique power, ice skating on like normal surfaces, having no what's that called, friction on his body. His suit's pretty cool with his little goggles. I like that. I don't know, Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I really love the look. It's such a goofy premise for a villain that it was just Pam. You know what I mean? Like, his super villain power is Pam. He just sprayed some Pam on himself. It's so great. I love that.
I love it, yeah.
The costume look is surprisingly pretty cool. It's like pure white, almost like Silver Surfer in the sense that it has like no lines. It's just like a white glistening body, and then he's got some like green armor, and it's more like pads, like skating pads, knee pads, and then like wrist pads. And he's got like a satchel attached to him too, and like these really cool goggles that have like tiny little round scopes on them. It's super fun. I also love that like he is a bad guy because even though he like turned the badder guys into the police, he still stole the money at the end of the day, and he's doing it to like kind of get revenge and get his like name kind of returned back to what it was, and he's being a bad guy for good reasons. Yeah, love this guy.
Right. Bex Luthor, are you going to cosplay as Slide?
No.
Oh. Okay.
I only cosplay as cute girls or monsters.
Okay. There's limits to what you're willing to do. Okay.
Obviously.
But
no. I love the outfit. I absolutely adore it. I love the knee pads and I love the goggles. It's such a juxtaposition to Spider-Man. I think that's what I enjoyed most about it. Is like this Slide guy's gonna stand out on a page, and practically for like a bank robber / thief, probably not the best color white, but
right,
he can go fast, so it's fine. Like it didn't bother me that the practicality of it was dumb because it looked cool, and at the end of the day, that's what I want most in my comic books. Is I want it to be cool and fun. Because like if I wanted to read something about practicality in the real world, I'd go back to school. But clearly, I'm not doing that. So
yeah, I really like it too because they also give it like a reason, right? Like he's supposed to be slick and slippery, and it's both a juxtaposition to Spider-Man looks wise, but also it's a good foil for Spider-Man's like main weapon, right? Like the webs just slide off. It's Spidey's powers are sticking to things and sticking, grabbing things with his sticky web. But if this bad guy is known for non-stick, it's like that perfect foil. So I'm totally willing to forgive it, to be like, why is he wearing white? It's like, I don't care. Like he's a bad guy with a cool suit, and he's got powers that like go up against Spidey in a very fun, interesting new way.
Also, I gotta point out this cover, I believe it was used in the Marvel Universe definitive handbook blah 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 of Slide's entry, and this shot of Slide is awesome. Like the way he's running and the way his leg is, like, and his arm is or whatever, it looks like it's a real guy running, and it's just awesome. I love this shot. And also, we talked about the split cover, and this shot of Spidey completely upside down and backwards is freaking cool too.
Great.
I love that. So
that's awesome.
And now I also want to point out, so this is by the usual team of. Well, sorry, not the usual team, but it's the usual writer, Tom DeFalco. This is guest pencils by Sal Buscema and finished art by Kyle Baker, who's the usually the inker of Peter Parker. So this is completely different than we usually see from Sal Buscema. If you guys remember, Sal Buscema did the recent Leapfrog, Frogman, Toad issue. Remember that one?
He did a lot of stuff in Amazing.
Right. We love too. Right, we love Sal Buscema. He's a classic Marvel artist. And this is Kyle Baker on ink, so two completely different style artists. I think for the most part it works. Like, for example, on digital page 10, that close-up of Slide's face when he's got his mask off, that's excellent. Like the detail on his face. Sometimes it doesn't 100% mesh, but overall I think it's pretty interesting. What do you guys think of the art here?
Yeah, it's really fantastic in parts. Kyle seems to have like a really like sketchy way that he inks, and it gives Sal Buscema's art almost a whole new context.
Totally.
Because Sal Buscema usually, who's he? Jim Mooney. A lot of the times he's partnered up with, right? And Jim Mooney's usually pretty clean, solid lines. A lot of lines that are pretty thick and then taper down. Where this, like, it has a lot of like sketchiness to it, and it's pretty fun. There's some great stuff. I really love. I don't have the digital pages, but it's later on when Spidey is stopping those goons in the alleyway, trying to get information from them, and they're all running away on that like really long panel at the top, and it's just Spidey in the corner with the web. Like I love that.
17. Yeah, it's a good panel. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it. And then he grabs the guy, and we get the close up of his hand, and then that like second panel, but the second tall panel there with Spidey upside down questioning the guy, pointing at him. It's great. There's some really fun stuff.
And look at the bottom right panel on that page. Look how like sketchy and almost impressionistic that panel is.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like it's just shadow. It's great. It's really different from what we see from Sal. Because Sal Buscema is like the master draftsman. And then Kyle Baker is like the master of like texture and shadow and all that stuff. So it's a really good combination. And I don't know, if we ever see this again. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
It feels at times like a very stylized independent comic.
Right.
The way that the inking is done.
Yep.
And with the great like the base from Sal Buscema, it makes, I think, the style like work because the bones are already good. So when you add that like stylistic choices on top, it just feels like extra flavor.
You're right. Bex Luthor, like
some of the panels in here, I think I don't have the page number, I think it's 3, but just like the shading on Spidey gives this style like a whole new level of depth,
right?
And it adds such a moodiness to the art that like it's completely different than Web of, where it was like it did feel very comedic a little bit, whereas this one, it's not like the edgy story that Peter Parker's gonna be, but it still gives the art that little bit of depth where it's like, oh, this is serious, like Peter is actually upset, and I feel like he's upset, and it's emphasized by how much drop shadow he's in. Like when he's in the fruit truck and it's just him in like backlit almost as Slide gets away. It's
great.
I just love how defeated it makes him look. And then I think it's on that same page actually where you guys were talking about like the long panel with everyone running away and just the moodiness of that last panel, the shading in it again, and then the whole shading of like the handoff with the money, and then like the web shooting and the color choice there. I love it. It's great. This was my favorite art of the 3 for sure.
And then when we get to the epilogue with Puma, this is now, I believe, Joe Rubinstein, and you can see how, it's a night and day difference. I think it just looks sort of typical Marvel of 1986.
This feels like everything else in Amazing recently, like with the Beyonder and everything like that. And what's that fire guy's name? Firefox?
Firehot. Yeah,
Firehot.
Firehot. Yeah, there you go.
Mike's just thinking about him. Firehot. Firelord. Shit, nope, it's Firelord. So dreamy.
It does kind of go right back into... Oh, and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it too, I don't even think that it hit me that this was recolored while I was reading it until I got to those like that prologue page or the epilogue.
Right.
Because because those lines are so clean, you can really feel the recoloring and the retouching.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Where the sketchiness of the other one, it still felt
old,
almost like I had it in my hand.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
So it had some like style and texture and like a good feel to it.
Right. So yeah, overall, I mean, this is a step up. I mean, Amazing's always good, but this is definitely a step up from the average issue. So I recommend this one for sure. Bex Luthor, what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a great time with this one. It's interesting going back and reading these older comics with these like B-class villains, I guess, where it's like we were just reading about like the Spot, right? And I'm like, why aren't these why is the Vulture such a big deal? When we could have had 3 movies with the Spot or with Slide, or why don't these guys get the same kind of recognition as Venom does? I mean, I understand Venom's cool, but like I think these are really interesting characters. They give them a backstory that actually makes sense in the context of what's happening. And you said Slide shows up again?
Yeah.
He's not in a lot then, right?
No, he's not in a lot, but he's coming back soon. I don't want to spoil it, but he's coming back soon, so.
Yeah, because I'm just like, there's no modern Slide, is there really? Which is kind of a shame.
I don't want to spoil it, but man, he's around for a while, so he's got I mean, it's not a lot, but he's got 24 appearances, so.
Yeah, but he's not like on lunch boxes, is what I'm saying.
No, not even close. Just like the Spot is not, what are you going to do?
Right. But I mean, the Spot made a pretty awesome return in recent comics, so there's always hope for Slide.
That's right. One day. Maybe Zack Snyder can get his Spider-Man movie and he can do the Slide cut, right? Okay, anyway.
I googled Slide just in images just because I wanted to see if he's ever been like drawn in more modern sense, and he's wearing black in every modern iteration of him.
Oh, he is
disgusting. Black and yellow.
Ooh, they ruined him.
Not like he's wearing a full black outfit and yellow goggles.
Oh, wait a minute. Does he appear in the animated series? He does.
Yeah, in not the most recent one, but I think the one before that.
Okay.
Yeah, Spider-Man animated series, the one with like the interesting stylistic choice where like Peter's cool.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, well, so there you go. If you want more Slide, there's more Slide for you there. Josh, do you recommend this issue?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It has a couple of flaws. I mean, the reminiscing about Uncle Ben again for kind of no reason. Him stopping to think about the Beyonder for half of a page is ridiculous.
That's garbage. You're right. That's
absolutely garbage. It's like I think it's also really ridiculous because we get the entire ending of this issue is about him going and fighting the Beyonder. Or like there, you know what I mean? So it's like
we don't need that part, right?
We don't need this like mini commercial break when the last like 4 pages or whatever it is about, oh no, the Beyonder's coming. That has nothing to do with this story. So
right, yeah. So like, let's just read that quick. Page 9. That dummy in the clothing store. For one terrible moment, I thought I was looking at the Beyonder. For the record, that dummy looks nothing like the Beyonder. But anyway, continue, Josh.
It looks more like Firelord.
Right. Anyway.
But all in all, it's a pretty good story. I love this new character that they've introduced. Not a huge fan of Spidey going into a bar and beating people up for information.
Right.
But I mean, that's just who Spider-Man was, I guess, at this time. We'll talk about that more when we talk about Peter Parker in a minute.
Yep.
But all in all, it's a really great, fun issue, and I'd recommend. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I'm less angry about it here because he's fighting guys in a pub for information about who beat up his aunt's boyfriend. Like, who beat up the elderly man who's in the hospital now. I'm like, okay, Peter's a 20-year-old boy. He's angry. I get
it. Okay, so now we're not going to jump to the last issue quite yet. We're going to jump to Secret Wars 2.
Oh,
only because there's only one panel to talk about. Because I told everyone, because Secret Wars 2 is so bad, you only have to review the one panel. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to skip the entire issue of Secret Wars 2 number 7. And we're going to go to, what page is this? Oh, here we go. Page 13. Okay, and this is so short. We can read the entire panel and be done, right? So basically, I have no idea what's happening. There's a bunch of crap going on. Who wants to read this?
I read the whole comic, so not me.
Did you really?
Becca,
you said that you weren't going to read it. You said you were going to read the whole comic. You were just going to read the panel, so I didn't even bother. I just was kind of skimmed through it.
Do you want to tell us the whole story, or
Mephisto wants to kill a Beyonder, doesn't. That's what happens. He gets everybody, everyone he can to sign a pact to help him out. Even Eternity itself, and then nothing happens.
Okay.
And then his machine expires, and everyone goes back to what they were doing. Also, The Thing isn't a TV show.
Was it a good issue?
No.
Okay.
But Spider-Man was pretty cool in it, though, right?
If I was just reading this outside of a Spider-Man podcast, I couldn't have told you that Spider-Man was in this issue.
Yeah, so let's just quickly skip to page 13. So the narration says, and in the Manhattan apartment of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, we see Spider-Man in front of his TV, I think?
Sure, why not?
And he's like, maybe I should try the Think system. Nothing else I do ever works. Cut. That's it. That's all he's in for this issue.
He's in his full outfit, too.
Yeah.
In his own apartment.
And he's leaping off of... Is that a couch? I don't even know what that is there.
Yeah, it looks like a pile of garbage. I'm not really sure what it is. Like,
is his TV on a cinder block?
Yeah, it's on, like, cinder block.
He's not that poor.
Well...
Also, I love the panel next to it where all of the New Mutants are watching TV together in one room.
Yeah.
And the X-Men. They have one gigantic sectional. It's huge. It's just one giant couch where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on one couch. And then, like, people even more surrounding the couch, and yeah, sounds like a great issue.
Yeah, this is rough.
So sad I didn't read this one.
Yeah, I have more to say if anyone cares. It's not anything good or relevant, but I could talk about how angry this made me for days.
Do it.
I really like how Death has titties because she's a lady. Gotta have them curves. I always love that about Death. I don't know what page it's on exactly, but there's like a zoom in of Death's face, and the whole time, like, you can only see her, like, eyes under the cloak, and they're just like little white dots. But then there's a zoom in on her face, and you find out that the white dots are actually little teeny tiny skulls.
Right.
That's great.
Instead of white dots.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, the whole time in this comic, Mephisto is trying to, like, kill the Beyonder and be like, because the Beyonder, I guess, got rid of Death previously, because he can do that,
as one will do.
And then he brought Death back because things not being able to die was probably bad. So Mephisto was pissed because apparently he's in love with Death, like every other cosmic entity, I guess, is in love with Death. And again, Death does not seem to give a shit. She's just here to kill things. Not even. She's just here. She's just having a time. And Mephisto's like, "Don't worry, my love." She says nothing. Every time he's like, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." She doesn't care. It's great. The Beyonder that spends this entire issue sitting on an island, and that's it. He's thinking. He's thinking about his purpose and his existence. He's having an existential crisis on the island, and then some schmuck shows up and is like, "Hey, buddy, what you doing? Sitting? Thinking? Sounds cool." And then he brings all of his friends to do some sitting and thinking. And then they bring all their friends to do some sitting and thinking, and now it's a cult. And meanwhile, back in hell, Mephisto is creating a giant machine that has a dumb name. I can't exactly remember what it is, but it's not important. But he can use this machine, and plus the souls of all of Marvel's bad guys that he's had signed contracts with him, since he's the devil, to fuel it to kill the Beyonder, including Galactus, the Silver Surfer, Eternity, like all of these amazing cosmic beings he also has on on his side because they too want to kill the Beyonder, I guess. I don't know.
For some reason.
I mean, obviously I haven't read... I only read the other 2 issues of Secret Wars that we read originally, but I don't know what he could have done in between then and now that pissed off Eternity itself. I wanted him dead. But anyway,
I guess he just
Eternity's in on
it. I guess he's just a threat because
Yeah.
he's so powerful, yeah.
Because he can do literally anything. But he's just sitting and thinking. So, and then it turns out that also Molecule Man and his girlfriend, remember her? She's the fire lady from Secret Wars 1.
Yeah.
They have game nights. That's a fun part.
Oh.
Yeah, they do game night. Yeah, and also the thing is on a TV show.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Because
he's on a TV show.
Last I remember, he was on Battle World.
Yeah, so it turns out that eventually his thing form comes back, and he can't just shift back and forth from not rocks to rocks. So he's like, well, I guess I don't need to be here anymore. So he comes back to Earth somehow. It turns out the whole time he's gone, blind girlfriend Alicia has been boinking Johnny Storm. So he's like, "Urgh." So he obviously is not on the team anymore, and Johnny has his girlfriend for some reason. Who knows? And now he's on a TV show or a movie.
Now
he's doing something.
Just for the record, that plotline was later retconned, and you find out that Alicia was actually a Skrull disguised as Alicia, and the real Alicia, I don't know what happened to her. But so technically, this is not the real Alicia cheating on the thing. So,
but it was really Johnny knowing, or at least thinking that he was boinking the thing's girlfriend.
Good point.
Okay.
Good point.
Okay, so she's in the clear, not her. Didn't leave her boyfriend for her boyfriend's best friend. Good on her. Boyfriend's best friend did steal that girl.
Good point. Yep.
So Johnny Storm, scum of the earth, confirmed. So what the hell's happening in this issue? Oh yeah, then Mephisto gives the Thing infinite power by signing a contract with him, so that he can beat up the Beyonder, even though he's got eternity. We need the Thing. We need the Thing to punch Beyonder.
We just needed more characters in here.
Yeah.
I really love the panel of like Mephisto talking to Death, and every single Marvel villain ever is standing there as like an action figure pose with just like their arms like bent at a slight angle.
Slightly T-posing.
Their legs are kind of like spread a little bit.
This is
rough. Then the Thing's gonna kill Beyonder, because obviously it's Beyonder's fault that Johnny took his girlfriend. And then all the bad guys show up to kill the Beyonder, and then the Thing goes, maybe I shouldn't kill the Beyonder and help him instead. Okay. And then the Beyonder's like, maybe that's your purpose, Thing, to help people. And then goes, I should figure mine out, and like younces. Also Juggernaut's there. Oh, and then the big machine that Mephisto has that he's going to use to defeat the Beyonder, like taps out, like it was on a timer. So like Mephisto had to have the Beyonder on this island, all of the Marvel villains on this island, and the Thing on this island at a certain time so he could use his machine to defeat them all. But then the Beyonder was like, I'm gonna go, actually, and Mephisto has to make him stay on the island. That's why he has Thing come to distract him. And then his big MacGuffin doohickey blows up anyway. And then all of the bad guys don't have to sell their soul to Mephisto, and then Eternity and all the cosmic entities go, loser, and then they younce. This isn't even the end of Secret Wars.
No, there's still 2 more to go.
And then, what does this end on?
I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Maybe my true role is to teach all the other beings in existence what their true roles are.
I think I'm onto something here, he says. Well, so now...
I think the secret part of Secret Wars is that it's ass.
I don't know if that's a secret.
Well, yeah. So now just so you guys know, we have to read New Mutants number 36, X-Men 202, Defenders 152, as well as the Spider-Man crossovers next month, as well as the next issue of Secret Wars. So, my question is, Becca, are you going to read this comic again, and do you recommend it?
No.
Okay. So,
don't do it. Love yourself. If this is the true opposite of self-care, this is self-hatred.
Yes.
I've hit low points in my life, but I've never hated myself this much to wish this upon anyone else. The art was pretty decent, though.
That's giving it too much praise. I think it's okay, but it's not decent.
Whoever drew this one specifically really likes Mephisto, though, because he looks pretty dope.
Al Milgrom, he did the whole series. Yeah, he looks okay. I think overall it's kind of sloppy. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I did not read the issue in its entirety. I couldn't. I mean, just one page, I think, has more dialogue on it than all of Amazing Spider-Man did this issue, or this week.
I know, and it's just... it's off-putting, I know.
And there's just every character crammed on the page that, like, those pages with all the crowd shots are not good. And it's only because they couldn't put the proper time into doing it, right? So, and they shouldn't have to. And there's just no reason for all of these characters to be here. For it to just be like, oh... although the villains did nothing and the machine blew up anyways. Like, what's the story? Why? Like, what was the purpose besides having an issue to show off all of your characters in one book? You know what I mean? Like, this it just seems...
Well, I gotta say, unfortunately, we have to lay some of the blame at the feet of our pal, Bob Budiansky, because he was the editor. So he let...
Bob!
Yeah, he let this issue go through without...
Bob...
rejecting it and the whole series. But anyway,
I refuse to believe that. I'm just not going to accept that.
Yeah,
we're in that era where we just get to pick and choose what facts are true to us, right? So
yep.
So I
that's how it works.
Not my Bob
alternative
Budiansky.
facts. All right. So anyway, okay. So I don't recommend it. Josh, you don't recommend it, right?
No, I don't think so.
Based on the panel you read, and Becca doesn't recommend it. So
two things I do recommend: little teeny tiny skulls in Death's Eye, and Mephisto watching Earth TV.
Also, check out how poorly drawn Ego is from Quasar, but that's a whole other story. Don't worry, there's only 2 more issues to go of Secret Wars 2. We'll try to get.
Is Quasar in this issue?
No, he's not, but Ego is. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Every other character's in here.
That's right. There's no wristband of Quasar in this issue. Okay.
Yeah, we would have read that when we did Quasar chronology,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So
that was great.
So now, go ahead, Becca.
I'm just gonna get that panel of death with the little skull eyes tattooed on me. I really, Secret Wars gave me that, and that's all I need.
You want to have a piece of Secret Wars on you forever?
Yeah. This one.
It is a very good panel. It is a great panel.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the all-new, all-daring Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, number 110. This is the shocking conclusion to the year's most explosive saga. Spider-Man battles Daredevil, the man without fear, in All My Sins Remembered. Okay?
Hey, Spider-Man's punching Daredevil in the dick on the cover, huh?
I love this cover.
Yeah.
Hey, Spider-Man punched Daredevil in the dick so hard he flew out a window.
Yikes.
Spider-Man, he's blind. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It is happening.
So this is an odd issue. So Spidey is racing to get to the Daily Bugle, right? To prevent the murder of... Is it what's her name? Betty Brant, right?
Right. I think they're at Jameson's house.
Oh, yeah. Jonah's house. So because he heard on the phone the gunshot go off, so he's like, "Oh my God, she's dead. I better race there." So then we cut to the picking up from the previous issue, and we see the hole in the chair. We see the phone dangling on the cord, and of course Betty jumped under the desk, so she's still alive. So then we get this awkward scene where like Sinator's yelling at her. And blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to let you live. Actually, I'm going to kill you. So then she like stabs him with a knife that just happens to be... I guess it's the letter opener.
Letter opener.
Yeah, so stabs him in the leg. But then just at that moment, Spidey smashes through the glass and, webs up his gun, pulls it away, smashes it, and then proceeds to beat the living shit out of him. Pulls off his mask because now he knows that it's, what's his name? Stan Carter, right? Mm-hmm. Keeps beating the shit out of him. Then Daredevil comes in and tries to stop him, gives him like, what's that called? The full Nelson. And then they're arguing back and forth. So then Spider-Man does what anyone would do to a superhero, throws him out a window. But thankfully, Daredevil has really good, balance, and so he's able to catch himself on like a flagpole. He realized if he didn't, he'd just be dead now, right? But anyway. So then Spider-Man forgets about Betty, forgets about Sin Eater. I'm going to chase down Daredevil and beat the shit out of him. So then he chases after him. Daredevil punches him. Spider-Man's chasing after him. Now he's in like Central Park or whatever. Punch, punch, punch. And then basically, and it's funny because then Daredevil's like thinking in his head, he's like, I've been lucky. I managed to distract his spider sense with my half my club and nail him with the other half, but I can't let up, so he's punching him, and he's like, if I give him the slightest chance, he'll wipe the floor with me. But then the next page, it's like, and finally, and Spider-Man is knocked out, so Daredevil has beat him, which technically might be impossible, but who cares? So then he does a weird thing. He takes Peter Parker, Spider-Man's unconscious body, and just drapes him over this branch, and just lets him like lay there. It's kind of weird.
Hides him in a tree, but not really well.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's weird because then already, and the time it's taken for them to have their fist fight, Betty Brant Leeds is already set up with a TV crew doing an interview about what just happened. So,
and the police are also watching this interview and finding out for the first time that Carter, or whatever his name is, was the murderer.
Right, so this is probably hours later. I don't know. They don't say it is, but okay. So it's weird because now it kind of feels like the story climaxes as it ends, and now we're cutting across around the city and seeing reactions from different people. We also cut over to the subplot about
Santa.
About Santa, breaking into kids' houses and stealing things, which we'll get to in a few issues. And so now we established that it's Christmas. Peter Parker is back at the Daily Bugle. I guess Peter Parker woke up on the tree and was fine, went home, changed, which is fine. It's just unusual for a superhero comic to... It's funny because they have to denote, later on to show that how long it took for Daredevil to beat up Spider-Man, but things like this, they just don't explain. Next morning in the lobby of the Daily Bugle, Peter doesn't even acknowledge what just happened. He's like, oh, that really hurt when I got beat up last night. Anyway, he's just on to the next thing. Then he explains to J. Jonah Jameson what was going on and blah blah blah, back and forth. And then there's interviews with people all around the city about how they feel about the Sin Eater. Then we cut to this weird scene of this guy on a subway who a bunch of toughs are trying to kind of rough up, and he just pulls out a gun, shoots them all dead.
That's one of the people that live in Aunt May's boarding house.
Oh,
right,
right, because now he's all paranoid because of what happened. That's right. Okay.
It just shoots 3 kids.
So then, oh my god, I forgot what happened here. What is this? So now there's a lynch mob. Oh, right. So now there's a lynch mob after Stan Carter, right?
Yeah, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up.
Right, then S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up, and then Spidey and Daredevil are now arguing about, blah, 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 about Stan Carter, and Stan Carter's being transferred between here and there, and so this lynch mob wants to kill him, and so then... they all surround him, and then Daredevil jumps down to try and protect Stan Carter, and Spider-Man does what Spider-Man would, do, which is let him get killed. And so he's turns his back on him, and he's like, Uncle Ben, Gwendy, Captain Stacy, now Jean, I've lost so many loved ones to criminals. I use my power to protect innocents, not animals like Sin Eater. If I did, then I wouldn't be worthy of the name Spider-Man. Oh, no, sorry, that's Daredevil. Spider-Man! And then... Peter! So guess what? He kind of just blew his secret identity, but no one notices, right? So then it's kind of like the Martha scene in Batman versus Superman. It's like he strikes a nerve, so he's like, oh crap, he's calling me Peter, now I feel guilty because I'm also Peter Parker. So he jumps down, he's like, now I'm going to save Daredevil. So he webs up some of these bad guys, carries Daredevil away, and then they continue their conversation, and that's basically the last page, and they're kind of debating the ethics of letting Sin Eater die or killing him or blah, blah, blah. And then that's pretty much it. And then Aunt May calls and is like, oh, yeah,
my friend just murdered a couple of dudes.
Yeah. He's like, 3 teenagers, Peter, the wounds aren't serious, but the boys are in the hospital, so I guess they're not dead. Ernie turned himself in, said it was self-defense, but the boys weren't armed. Oh, Peter, he's in terrible trouble. He can't afford a lawyer. What will we do? Mrs. Parker? Matt Murdock? I couldn't help but overhear with my super hearing. Yes, that Matt Murdock. So yeah, now Matt Murdock is going to be his lawyer. And then it ends with this that's all I'll ask, Peter. Now, Mrs. Parker, as I was saying, can I call you May? And it's like, happy ending, I guess. The end.
It's like, hey guys, 3 people are dead.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but this story is called The Death of Jane DeWolf. What happened?
Yeah.
Like, it really just became not about that. Like, it was...
Dad's in it.
It was... yeah, I guess.
He's in the lynch mob.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just... Everything feels very disconnected and weird. Like, it feels like a bunch of different stories. And I mean, at times it is a completely different story, like the whole Santa Claus thing. Like, is this connected to this story at all? Or is this like a totally different thing that they're setting up?
I think this has been the problem with this whole Jean DeWolf thing, is that some of the pieces work, but they do not fit together. Like, again, I said that it feels like the story ends on like page whatever, 11 or 12, and then, oh, there's still half an issue? Okay, let's just keep going. And then they have all this other stuff. And then the fact that they introduce the guy that shoots the kids, and then the phone call at the end, it just doesn't feel like the same issue. It feels like that should be in the next issue. And the fact that literally 1 page earlier, Peter was like turning his back on Daredevil and was going to let him get killed. And then 2 pages later, it's like, wah, wah, wah. Now I'm going to be your aunt's lawyer. It doesn't gel.
No. I really liked what they were trying to do with the Spider-Man Daredevil aspect, where I think it was just way too heavy-handed, and the fact that Spider-Man is not the character to just let a mob kill somebody, or a mob of people kill somebody, or let even Daredevil get beat up and die. It's very weird that they would let this happen. Again, I think I said this either last week or the week before about Peter Parker, the issues of Peter Parker. If this was the real symbiote costume, I think it would work perfectly. Right? Because the symbiote is changing who Peter Parker is and how he acts and his temper. So it would fit with the story. But this is not, even though he's wearing the black and white costume, this is not the symbiote costume. This is a fabric costume that was made to look like it. So there's really no excuse for him to be acting like this at all. And it seems very out of character. I also really like the conversation that they have afterwards about how Daredevil always knew that he was Peter, and he just kept his identity a secret. And, you know, like, there's some really great dialogue and some great moments, but they don't feel like they're part of the same comic. And half the time doesn't even feel like it's the right character saying the thing. So I didn't like this entire story. I thought it was pretty meh. All 4 issues, I believe it was 4, of this arc, I thought were extremely weak, had really great moments and ideas, but overall fell super flat.
Lex Luthor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty disrespectful way to treat an actually awesome character death. Like Jean DeWolf's dope, and she's been dope for 9 years at this point. And they just off her, and the story's titled after her, and it's not about her in the slightest. It's about Peter being an angsty teen, even though he's a grown man at this point. Parts with Daredevil, I like that stuff. Like, I'm not gonna say I didn't like any part of this. Like, I think Sin Eater, his dialogue with Betty is pretty interesting because he's like fully gone off the deep end at this point. I like how Betty stabs him, girl power. But everything with this one's called Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. Everything with Peter sucks. It just needed to be the symbiote suit, or he just needed to give a little bit more of a shit, like, for him to be this angry about stuff. Like, it needs more flashbacks of him and Jean being good friends or something, because it doesn't... Why is he such a piss baby about it? And, like, he's standing on the rooftop and he's reminiscing and he's turning his back on Daredevil. Where was the Uncle Ben, like, I gotta be responsible drop? Like, that would have worked. And he'd be like, I can't turn my back on anybody because then that's how people die, and nobody, like, and I'm Peter Parker and nobody deserves to die. Instead of, like, we get the Uncle Ben reference in the previous comic and none of this one.
It's, well, I guess it's one of the problems with, like, superhero or any serial fiction where it's like once your character learns his lesson, there's really nowhere for him to go. So it's almost like they have to keep learning the same lesson over and over again. And we've seen that with Peter Parker, where he'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, I don't know if it was this one or another issue this week, where he's like, I'm just gonna worry about number one. And that's an exact quote from Amazing Fantasy 15. He says, I'm just gonna care about number one. And I'm like, clearly this is a echo of that, but it's like he's already kind of figured that out. Why does he need to figure it out again? But that's kind of just the way it goes, unfortunately.
It's sloppy.
Right.
Is the story.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Now that I've reread this whole story, it almost feels like the story was done and then they're like, let's call this the death of Jean DeWolf. Because it isn't really about the death of Jean DeWolf. That's only like 3 pages of the first issue. The rest of it is just all about the Sin Eater and Peter Parker and Daredevil. So it doesn't even really feel like a cohesive storyline. It just feels like 4 random issues that they called the death of Jean DeWolf, you know? So I don't know. It could have been an editorial decision just to pump it up a little bit more and promote it. I don't know.
And it sucks because the pieces for a great classic comic book arc are here. Like, it's an ex-SHIELD agent turn cop turn supervillain. The city is now distrustful of all police. They don't know who to trust, where to turn to. Like, Peter could be losing his trust for authority, and Daredevil's trying to, like, make sure, be like, we have to believe in the system, otherwise there's no point in the system. And, like, it can still have a lot of the things that it has in this comic, but it's just the little things that make it clunky and awkward or just downright disrespectful. It sucks, because the part in this comic where all of the people are reacting to learning that it was a cop who killed all of these people is heart-wrenching, and it's actually good. Like, we see the townsfolk being like, oh, you can't trust anybody anymore. You, like, stay away from the windows, like, all this stuff, and then it's just Peter being an angsty bitch again. Sucks.
And I think that they could have written this where it felt right that Peter was, like, taking it too far, right? If they would have built up the fact that he's doing this because one of his best friends was murdered. Like, that is, even for somebody like Peter, that is a good enough reason in a story to take things too far. And to have somebody like Daredevil step in and kind of reteach him what Uncle Ben taught him a long time ago, that totally makes sense. But that's not what happens, unfortunately. We don't even really get an emotional beat of him feeling sad about Jean DeWolf. The saddest he ever is when he finds out that Jean had a crush on him and he could have got him some. Like, it sucks. Like, this story really was not fun, and it really could have been. There's so much they could have done with it. A lot of the stuff they did do was, like, deep and good. It didn't fit with the rest of the story, and, like, everything kind of fell apart by the end of it. And I didn't even have fun reading this one, honestly.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Becca.
I was just gonna say, it just makes me remember that panel in, I think it's part 1, where it's like, it's Spider-Man and Stan, and they're in the cop car and they're sharing a hot chocolate, and he goes, yeah, I liked her too. And then there's a panel of emptiness, and I went, oh, that's beautiful storytelling. Oh, that's I love that, and that still sticks with me as those 2 panels, because I would think it worked really, really well. And everything that came before it and after it is just, like, shitting all over what could have been. This is worse than a bad story. Is a good story told poorly.
Right, which we've kind of said in the last few months, right? It's like there's so many elements for what... It's like a good story told badly, and other issues are bad stories told well, and other issues are bad stories told badly.
I'll take bad told bad. I enjoyed Secret Wars more than this one.
That's at least
because I knew that was garbage.
Right.
This one.
And there's like something to comment on how it's like, this is just goofy nonsense.
Right.
Where this, it's just like, oh, I wish it was better.
Right.
I don't wish Secret Wars was better. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's stupid. It's like we've said multiple times, it's kids playing with action figures.
Yeah.
But this 100%. Is like supposed to be like a good deep story, and it just is like incoherent mess. Like things just don't really matter, and they're not consistent. Even the art in this issue, more so than the others, there's a lot of stuff that really is rough. I mean, original page 20, this like the last panel on that page, this guy is screaming in the mob. It's like this, it has like an uncanny look to it. It's drawn like awfully.
Which page? Sorry, I'm on.
It's original 20.
Dude, that's bad. It looks like he's made out of like Play-Doh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. And there are panels that are really well done and look fine, but then there's certain things a lot of the times close with the face or its anatomy, it just looks off and weird, and unfortunately it's consistent with the story being like patchy and not coherent.
You know, we should point out, so it's penciled by Rich Buckler, but it's inked by, quote, M Hands, which stands for many hands. So for all we know, there's a different inker on every page.
Right.
So I think that explains why it's so inconsistent, because some panels look good, some look bad, some look really bad. So I think that's the reason, right? Is this was kind of a rush job on inking. But yeah, some panels look really good, actually.
Yeah. That whole last page with Peter and Matt like having a conversation, that stuff looks great.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, like it all looks fun.
Yeah, Peter's hot.
Yeah.
There's like other... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's just the moments it looks wrong and off.
If you go to like Digital 13, this page is one of the best in the issue. But unfortunately, I can't find the credits for who actually inked each page, so I don't know who did this, but it looks really good. So if you're out there and you're listening and you inked this page, you did a great job. Okay. Yeah. So again, an uneven, incoherent, discombobulated issue of Peter Parker. I enjoyed it more than you guys, but I still think it's not a great issue by any means. It's the least, the tonally inconsistent issue this month. Like Becca said, at least Secret Wars 2 knows what it is, and it does it, well, not well, but it does it consistently. So, yeah. That's it. So, just for the record, be sure to join us next month, because we're going to be reading more of the same. So, in Amazing Spider-Man 273, the Puma shows up. That story continues into Peter Parker, number 111. We get more follow-up from that story in Secret Wars 2, number 8. And then in Web of Spider-Man, we have a cover that tells us nothing about the story, so I have no idea what's going on. So it's a big secret, so be sure to join us for that one. And we want to thank Bex Luther for always joining us. You're on a pretty good streak here, Becca. This is good.
It's almost like I am in a stay-at-home order and I can't leave my house or do anything.
Oh, I thought you booked the night off just to be on the show. Anyway.
Oh, no, I did that too. I mean, you gotta take time off from, like, sitting around doing nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, we want to thank you guys for listening as well. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcast, or you could drop us a line on Twitter at HCTSpidercast. Please let us know what you guys think about the comics that we were talking about and the episodes of the podcast itself. We do want to keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until next Monday,
Spider Friends,
go for it!